Hello everyone, my name is Chloe Page, and today we are going to be talking about the aviation service business for Module 2. And we're going to be talking about the scenario that I chose. So our scenario for this is going to be, we are looking at a situation where we are at an FBO that has it's at an airport that has a 3,000-foot runway. We typically only sell avgas to our clients, but recently we've been looking into this regional air taxi operator that is going to start using in our state some very light jets. So we are trying to decide whether or not we want to invest in catering to these very light jets. So not only offering 100 low lead, but also offering Jet A to these very light jets. So some details. So if we're looking at our FBO, we have one runway, it's 3,000 feet, and there is likely no tower because it's a rural area, and then we have that fuel farm with 100 low lead. And then a couple more details about that is that since we're the only FBO on site, that's going to be good profit for us, but we're still going to face the economical shifts that general aviation is really susceptible to. We also probably have very few team members since we're in a rural area, and then almost all of our current customers, current traffic is going to be using 100 low lead or just avgas. So when we're talking about the practicality of whether or not our FBO should get Jet A along with our avgas, we can think about some things like common jets, like those very light jets, like a Cirrus Vision jet, for example, needs a longer runway. I believe theirs is about 3,020 feet for the minimum landing, and our runway is only 3,000. Another thing to consider is that a lot of very light jets would be having to land on almost empty tanks because, a heavier aircraft requires a longer landing distance. It would also be really expensive. It would cost about $150,000 to $250,000 to install a Jet A tank on our site. And with that comes a lot of costs that come with ensuring the quality. The testing of that is required by regulation. So getting the tools to do that would also be really expensive. Then we have to think about the training that goes into this. There's a lot of possibility, a lot of room for error, for confusion between fuels and misfueling, so putting jet fuel into something that needs avgas or vice versa. And then if we get jet fuel, then we also need to be thinking about if we're servicing these jets, we need bigger equipment because equipment that services these smaller planes like tugs are not going to be suitable for jets. So when we're talking about our decision, we're saying that we are not going to cater to them for jet fuel for now. However, if the need arises, then we will reassess in the future. Biblically speaking, I decided to talk about Proverbs 27:23 and Luke 14:28 through 30. So Proverbs says, "Be diligent to know the state of your flocks and attend to your herds, for your riches are not forever." And then Luke says, "For which of you, intending to build a tower, does not sit down first and count the cost, whether he has enough to finish it?" So to me, these verses really pointed out the importance of just being really diligent in your planning and seeking the Lord, because He knows what to do with what we have. And then here are my references: is the Holy Bible, New King James Version, and then our textbook. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you.